Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Everyday Riches Show. I am Pat Knauer. I am your business strategist, and I am here with my co-host, Barbara Ellison. Hey, Barb.
Well, hey, Pat. How are you doing this morning on this beautiful day here in Chicago? I'm
Lovely.
so excited. It is going to be a beautiful day. I'm so excited.
Yay.
Always good to sit outside. Yeah, that's one of my little tips for today. Take some minutes today to go outside. Even if you stand on your porch, if it's pouring rain, go outside. It is so important for your mental attitude and for your mental well-being. So
totally. Yes.
Needed to put that in there for somebody.
I know, right? And my little tip for the day is spend some time saying hello to the people you love. So many times in your business and in your life, you get so wrapped up in everything you do. And, we're so used to sitting in front of these boxes, these computers that we're in front of long hours. And it seems like since COVID happened, we spend more time in front of our computers. And the result is we aren't spending time doing the things that really matter, like connecting with our family, like connecting with our friends, like doing arts and crafts projects. Last night I was working on a vision board. That's a whole other thing. Fixing meals, doing all the things that you normally love to do. And yet you're not doing it so often because you're so focused on making the connections and getting online and, doing your work and having the meetings. And it's just run over. And take lunch. Seriously, folks, take lunch.
I didn't do that yesterday.
Right.
And all of a sudden it was like, what is wrong with this? What's wrong with me? I'm kind of thinking, well, I haven't had lunch.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's important to do those things that you really, really love and really important in your life. Because you know what? I keep saying it over and over and over again. If you don't take care of you, there are no little gnomes or gremlins in the background who are going to do it for you. So you better take care of you. Yeah.
So this is, but today's going to be a great show. But I got to tell you one little thing, something new that I'm excited about that I'm working on, and it's going to be a new 3-day course that I'm going to offer to people. And it's going to be called Clarity, Conversations, and Cash. How to talk to ourselves and get ourselves out of our own way, how to have conversations with the people around us and get ourselves out of our way, and then how to earn, because we all have bills to pay. So, me, my mission is to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. And part of happiness is having impact and influence, but also earning income. So I'm just so excited about it. And I've had some really good feedback of people that like it and think that, wow, Barb, that'll be great. So can't wait to get it out there. So putting it out there. Yeah, that I have to do it. Now I have to do it.
And I'm also starting, it's going to be a 30-day crash course. And that means that there is going to be work involved, but it's a 30-day crash course to get your finances, your operations, and your marketing in order.
Wow.
So you can really propel into this year in such a big way. I should have done it in January, but I just didn't have it all together in the way that it is now.
But we were just talking. Yeah, we were just talking in the green room before the show here of just the timing is everything.
Yes.
And when something is, when you're ready to bring something out, it'll happen.
Right.
And then just go with it.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Just go with it.
So, all righty. So we have got a great guest today. Oh my gosh. I am so excited. In fact, let's just bring her in and start chatting with her. But this, everyone, is the amazing Ellen Violette. And did I say it right, Ellen?
No.
Violette.
I know. Anyway, sorry. We just had this conversation beforehand, which makes it even more ridiculous. I apologize. So Ellen helps inspirational speakers, coaches, and heart-centered entrepreneurs write bestseller books in 7 days using her proven system. It's worked for hundreds of her students across the globe. Launch into #1 and use their book to grow their businesses, to make a bigger impact, make more money, and leave a lasting legacy through her coaching and author services company. It's called Books Open Doors. She's a multiple #1 international bestseller author herself, award-winning book coach, host of Books Business Abundance podcast, and Grammy-nominated songwriter. Her mission is to make the world a better place, one book at a time. Ellen, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
So good. So tell us how you got into this whole journey of writing and helping people write books.
My journey has been so crazy. So crazy. So I was in the music business for 20 years, and my husband and I built a world-class studio in the house that I grew up in. And I loved it. And it was so much fun until my parents both passed away within 11 months of each other. And I had to sell the house. And with my house went my recording studio. And that began the whole thing of, what do I do with the rest of my life? And to make a long story short, I'm just going to bypass all that stuff. But I got online at one point, and I said, well, I've always wanted to write a book because I don't know. I think it's in my genes. I really do. My mother wanted to write a book. One day she went into her room. She comes out 20 minutes later. She says, I wrote one page. I'm done. And we were all laughing hysterically, But anyway, but she wanted to write a book. My dad wanted to write a book. Anyway, and so I thought I'm going to write a book. So I got online. I started looking for information. But at that point, I didn't want to do a book proposal. I was burned out from the music industry because we'd make 10 cents a record while everybody else, was making a lot of money. And I just didn't like the whole way that the business was set up. And so when I found at that point ebooks, this was 2004, I thought this is amazing because I don't have to do a book proposal. I can get directly to my audience. And I don't have to go through gatekeepers. That was the thing in the music business. I'll never forget one day we were at this record company, and this woman literally said, my job is to say no, and your job is to tell me why I should say yes. And it's like they're so afraid of losing their jobs that they were afraid to make a decision or take a chance on anything. Mm-hmm. And so that was like a defining moment for me. So, in my business, I don't take any publishing when I help people publish because I'm just against that. I don't think it's the right thing to do. And so I understand that some people need that model, but for me, it's not right. And so I got online and I found a New York Times bestselling author. And I said, am I crazy to think I can do this? And, in my mind, I'm like, am I too old? And I was like in my late 40s, early 50s. It cracks me up now, but that's what I thought. And so he said, oh, you're really good. You're really good. Just start sending your stuff out on spec. And I was like, no, that's exactly what I don't want to do. But I found ebooks, and I remember, I'll never forget, I was running through the house going, oh my God, Kristen, my husband, I just found out what I'm going to do. This is so amazing. You can get directly to your audience. This is like the most awesome thing ever. And so I bought a book on how to write an ebook. Right. Yeah. And I looked around for a coach, but there were not any. Mm. And so there was one course that was an e-course. That was all I could find. And so I started, using the book, and I did as much as I could, but I was really struggling. It was hard. And it was going on and on. And at that point, we were just getting into internet marketing. We went to the big seminar with Armin Morin, and I thought, I'm sure there'll be a coach here. Nope, there weren't any. And so I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this, and I'm going to figure it out. And this is right up my alley, and I could do this better than anything that's out there. And so that's what I decided to do. So originally I became the ebook coach because I was really focusing on ebooks. But over time, what's happened is that in the beginning, people saw ebooks as being different than books, like that they were more conversational and sort of the poorer cousin, that you hide in the closet or something. But over time, it just became now you just write a book and you just do different formats. So we rebranded to Books Open Doors. So that's pretty much the story.
And I have heard so often that almost everybody of anybody has always said, oh, gee, I'd love to write a book.
Absolutely. 81% of people,
say that they would rather write. You want to read a book, and just I know I was privileged to be in part of 2 compilation books, mm-hmm. and it was fun to do. But you know what? I don't know. I loved doing it as being part of a compilation book because I only did a chapter. But to write a whole book, but you know what? You never know. As you go along.
Well, that's why, my mission was to make it easy. I mean, my system is so step by step and easy. I've had so many people come to me over the years who say, oh, I took this course or that course. It was too complicated. It was over my head, all that kind of stuff. And I make it really easy for people.
Yeah. Well, that's what Steve said. That's what my friend Steve said, that he said it was so easy to do.
That's awesome because I've written 2 books and I've done it in the 30-day format to shorten it down to 7 days. Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, it's all in the setup. When you set it up right, it's way easier to do it than what most people do. They just don't think about setup. They just want to start writing.
Right.
You know, and when you just start writing, it comes out however it comes out, and it can be a big mess, you know. And also, and one of my tips that I always tell people is that don't do book research. Like what most people do is they'll go and they'll start researching and researching and researching. And what happens is they've got all this information and then they're so overwhelmed by all the information, they can't get it organized. Whereas if your thoughts are organized first and you've done your outline before you do that, then you first of all know exactly what research you need. So you're not just researching and researching. And then the other thing is that your brain can handle it because it's not information overload.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
but
true.
even before that, I mean, and it's so funny because I didn't even, it's really hot in here. Sorry about that. I didn't even know what I was doing when I was doing this, but intuitively from the very beginning, when I started doing my boot camp, one of the things that I would do with people before I even got into writing the book was I worked on mindset with them. I didn't even realize I was actually doing that, but that's what I was doing. And I remember getting a testimonial where somebody said, you know, that was like a really important piece for them. You know, it's like seeing yourself as an author because like one of my coaches, I remember talking to him one time and he said it took him 10 years to write his book. He had it 90% done pretty quickly and he couldn't finish it. And he found out 10 years later, the reason he couldn't finish it was he didn't see himself as an author. And so
mindset means everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so he kept putting it off. But the other thing that I do in the boot camp now is I also get people to start marketing before we even start writing the book.
Right.
And I don't know any coaches. I mean, I'm giving my secrets away, but I don't know other coaches who do that. But, you know, so many times people come to me, a lot of times they've already, you know, when they've already written the book and now they're just starting to think about marketing. It's like, no. You got to think about marketing before you write your book. And the first thing I make all my clients do is we do a marketing and visibility study where we look at positioning the book. You've got to know who else is out there, what other books are out there, what's already been done. So, and also like what's selling, because that's important. It's kind of like, it's a fine line because you got to know what's selling and you want to be where stuff is selling, right? But on the other hand, you want to be unique. You want to be different. So we look at, you know, how is your book the same, but how is it different? And the positioning in your book is going to sell when it's different, because if somebody goes into Amazon and they see 10 books that all look really similar, what are they going to do? They're going to leave. They're not going to buy any of them because they can't make a decision.
Right.
You know, but I was talking with one of my clients who's a cardiologist, and we were trying to figure out how his book was different. Here's another tip. We went into Amazon and we read the reviews, you know, and what did people not like about the other books?
Right. I've heard that before.
Yeah. So what they didn't like in this particular case was that what people were saying they needed to do, what the books were saying they needed to do was too rigid. So basically they were saying, I could never stay on this diet. And so that was they just weren't going to do it. Oops. And then the other piece of it was, well, you know, this guy or these people who wrote this book, who are they? They're not even health professionals. Well, this guy's a cardiologist, so he knows what he's talking about, you know? So those were the two things that we played up because that's what people were saying they wanted that they weren't getting.
Right.
And so that can be so powerful in helping you find your niche, you know, and find your ideal clients.
And also to define the information that you put into the book.
Absolutely.
Because you're writing your book for the audience, not for what you do, not for what you want.
Yeah. And also that's why, I have my clients also write the title first. You know, after we've done the research, write the title so that, because of exactly what you just said, right? Write the title so you know what your book's about. Because sometimes what happens is, well, there's two ways that this could go. One is, you know, people wait till the end and then they're so ready to get the book out that they don't give it the attention that it needs and deserves. And then it doesn't sell after they put all that work into it. So that's really heartbreaking. And there was something else I was going to say, and I forgot what it was.
Once you have the title, then you can start the marketing.
Oh, yeah, I know what I was going to say. Yeah. But if you can't come up with it right away, at least have a working title so that, again, you keep referring back to it. So as you're writing the book, you only write about what you said you're going to write about. Because one thing that can happen is people write a title. This is how they make it not work, is they write the title and then they write a different book anyway. Right? Write the title, write the outline. Now you've got your whole roadmap, and then stick to it. And if you come up with something else, that's for another book.
Right. Got it.
That happens in business too. Just, it's not just in writing a book.
Yeah.
Right. All you business owners out there that think about writing a book, you're the same thing happens for you as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the other day, a friend of mine and I, we were just talking about, all the people that are in corporate America and that are building businesses and that they hate.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they are stuck on a path and they're just totally doing the wrong thing. And I think that can happen with a book too, that they can, you're writing and it's totally the wrong thing that you're writing about.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I see over and over is when people stall out when they're writing the book in the boot camp, what happens is they pick something they weren't excited about. They weren't passionate about it. And then they're just going, oh, this is boring. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's not getting anywhere. And it's really that they picked a book that they thought they should write rather than a book they wanted to write. And what I always say is you want to find the sweet spot between your passion, your skill, and what the market wants. What keeps them up at night? What problems can you solve? And I love this story because there was a couple and they had a neighbor. It's not exactly like books, but it's the same idea to me. And so they didn't even have a product, but the neighbor had a product, and they ended up teaming up with her and then becoming very successful helping her with her product. Right. So, I mean, if you can find whatever it is that you're passionate about, it doesn't have to be necessarily your passion, that you're writing your book about. It could be doubling up with somebody else. It could be co-writing a book with somebody. Mm-hmm. I had one client who had co-written a book with a professor, I think it was. So I mean, there are different paths for different people. It's not one size fits all, but you have to find what's going to work for you and what's going to move your business forward. And then making sure that it's somewhere you want to go, like what Barbara was just saying, right? Yeah. Russell Brunson told this story, and I was so excited because it had happened to me. And you always think you're the only one because nobody's talking about it, right? So Russell Brunson was saying, I mean, he built a company that was making, millions of dollars, and he had 60 employees, and he didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. Right. Yeah. And so he eventually blew that one up and then created ClickFunnels, and the rest is history. But yeah. So, but I was so happy to hear that because I've blown my business up a few times in different ways. Yeah.
Good way and bad way.
Yeah. Cause I just wasn't happy with, and that's the other thing is you can be happy for a while. And then, especially if you're a creative, like I am, one of the things I find one of the biggest problems with creatives is they get bored easily.
Right.
And so, you've got to create a business in a way that you're not doing the same thing all the time. And so many people will say, well, find one person, follow their system, and just do that one thing. And I'm like, I can't do one thing. I can't
do that.
No, you can't.
No. Yeah. So that's not going to work for me. So, I mean, I've always been in the same niche, but I move around within my niche and how I'm doing it and what I'm doing. And then I go, okay, well, this was fun for now. Now I'm going back to this. Right. Oh, it's time to write another book. Yep. It's time to create a new program, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. But when you're first starting out, the main thing is you have to prove your system. You have to prove that it works before you write your book. That's really important. You can't, if you write a book and you really don't have the proof, then you really don't know if you're giving people information that actually works. And that's not good because if it doesn't work, that's your reputation on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially when you're selling a book for $10, $15 or whatever, $20. And a lot of people are buying it because they want the great information out of it. And if the system doesn't work, it can really, really affect your business permanently. It's not even just a temporary thing. It's a permanent, it'll drive you down. And you're right. It's your name and your reputation out there. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So how did you get into podcasting?
Oh, well, actually, I love that question. I took a podcasting course like over a decade ago, and I had intended to start a podcast then, but I got so overwhelmed with all the information the guy was throwing at us that I got immobilized and I didn't do anything. And, there wasn't any coaching with it at that time. And it didn't occur to me to find somebody, which I wish I had, to find a coach, to walk me through what I needed at that time, but I didn't. So, I mean, it's a really long story how I got to it. So I'll give you the shorter version, which is after I had gotten to, we'd had a lot of medical issues between 2008 and 2015 between me and my husband, and we were swimming in debt from that. And then in the middle of that, we became homeless through no fault of our own. We were living in a place that turned out not to be to code. They kicked everybody out. And we just didn't have quite enough to get it together. And we had been evicted because of the medical bills, and nobody would give us a place to live except this one place that turned out to be not up to code. And so things were really hard. And so so what that did was my business suffered, of course. And I had tried to do, and it's weird because I was making a lot of money per client, but I just didn't have enough clients. Right. And so I decided I was going to do my boot camp in 2015, or was it 2000? No, it was 2018. I was going to do my boot camp. I did it in 2015. That was the last time. Then I was going to do it again in 2018, and I went to market it, and I only got one person. And number one, I was devastated by that. And number two, I canceled it and I just worked with her one-on-one. And so I thought, this just can't go on like this. I mean, it was just the last several years had just been so hard. We'd been through so much. And so, thank God I still had a business, but I thought, I can't do this anymore. I either have to quit or I have to start over in a way. And so I reached out to a mentor of mine. I was in his membership, but it was one of those ones where it's lifetime. So I would go in and out as I needed it. And I heard him on a webinar, and he was actually working with a friend of mine, and he had said how he helped her turn her life around and got her, and she bought a house and all this kind of stuff. And I called him up and I said, I want what she has. How do I do that? And he said, start a podcast.
Okay.
and I said, okay. So I spent about 8 or 9 months trying to put a podcast together based on what he told me I should do. And after putting all that time and energy into it and doing everything wrong, it just didn't feel right. And I was like, I can't, no, I'm not going to do this. And so I dumped it and I started over. And again, this goes back to follow your passion. Yes. You can have all the mentors in the world, and if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. You just end up wasting time. And that's what I did. I wasted a lot of time. And I didn't have the money at that point to hire a coach, a podcasting coach. I had to do it myself. And so I did it, so I just redid it the way I wanted to do it. And I started doing it. I just started doing it. And what happened that really surprised me was that people would come on my show, and afterwards, I had one of my guests say, God, this is the first podcast I've been on where I feel like it was really professional. Or people would say, God, I'm so comfortable and you make it so easy and all this. So what I found was that I had a skill that I didn't know I had. That was the bottom line, And so I started in 2018 around October, and I went through the end of the year. And then I was going to start up in January, but somebody got me into Russell Brunson's One Funnel Away Challenge. I went in another direction. And also I saw how much work it is to do a podcast. And I was like, oh God, this is a lot. And I thought, I want to do this. Oh, and part of it went back to what did you like to do as a kid? Right? It's like when you're trying to find out where, not just is my zone of genius, but what interests me. And so I thought, I used to love in college going to coffee houses and sitting and talking about life and philosophy and all that stuff. I love to talk, and I like to listen. And so I thought this is a good fit for me. So that was part of it too. I just knew it was a good fit. But anyway, so I said, I don't want to do this again until I know I'm going to stick to it. And so I started up again in June of 2019, and I've been going ever since.
100 episodes, right?
100 episodes last week. Yeah. 100 episodes. Yeah. And I'm still trying to figure it out, you know, in terms of like, it started out where I was just doing audio. And then I realized I really like seeing people like we're doing here. So I started doing video. Some people didn't want me to post the video, but I still do them all in video. And then I thought, well, now I have all those things. I can use them for other things or whatever. And then somebody said to me, well, you know, you're promoting the other people, but you're not promoting yourself. And I said, well, I thought I am, because I'm putting my 2 cents in all these conversations and giving, you know, my point of view. And he said, no, you should do like another section. So I started adding another section at the beginning of this year. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is even more work. I'm like, I don't know about this, you know? And plus there wasn't room to put in the subject line that, so nobody kind of knew it was there unless they actually went to watch that episode. So now then I thought, okay, so I'm going to pull back on this and just do like really a short tip at the end, not what I was doing, like a 5 or 10 minute thing, and just save those for separate, you know, right. Doing in like interviews and then trainings, which I'd been doing anyway. Now we're just calling it Books, Open Doors, Insights. So, you know, so it's still evolving. But that's what I did. And I love my podcast. I love talking to people. I love the interaction. And also part of why I did it was not just because he told me, but because I was tired of hearing myself talking all the time. I mean, I had been saying the same thing for so many years, and I just felt kind of stale. And I thought, you know, how can I spice this up to keep myself interested? And that's really important too when you've been in business a long time. I've been doing this 16 years.
Right.
So it was another way. It was another way to just, you know, give value, but not have to have it all come from me.
Right.
That made it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have loved about having this show and the other shows that I do is that I have learned so much from our guests.
That's the other thing.
They all come on and bring us tips.
Absolutely.
Tips. Do this. And it has just been such a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I want the conversation. I'm not one to just stand up in front of somebody and lecture. That's not who I want to be. I love doing that. I love having other people's conversations. Like Pat and I have conversations, and we talked about doing this podcast 2.5, almost 3 years ago.
It's been 3 years now.
When did you start?
It has been 3 years ago.
When did you start?
In September.
Last September. It took us 2.5 years. 2.5 years.
What a small world it is, though. I didn't know you two knew each other.
We have known each other for years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we had been sitting in Florida. We should do a podcast, and we had it all laid out. We had the Facebook page, everything. And then didn't do it. So
I know. See, we have these ideas and we don't.
Timing. It's all timing.
Yeah.
Yes. And then one day last September, I was out for a walk, and it was like a bolt. Barbara, you and Pat have got to do your podcast. I got home. I called Pat up, and Pat, we're starting a podcast next week.
Oh my God, that's great. That's great.
And the rest is history.
And here we are. And now we have not missed a week now since September.
Yeah, and earlier you mentioned Stephen, but people don't know what you were really referring to. So let's tell them what you were referring to.
One day, a friend of mine, we were just chit-chatting about writing books. And he was, people tell people other stuff. And we were sitting there, and he just said, oh, I'm having such trouble. I've got this book that I've starting to write, and the publisher that I'm working with right now, I'm just not happy with, and it's just not working. And I said, you know what, you should talk to my friend Ellen. And he said, really? I said, yeah. So I made an introduction between you and Steve, and it's been like years now. And so tell your part of it. So that was my part. I just introduced you to each other.
Yeah, no. So he says, well, Barb says you're the best, and I trust you all the way. And he said, I want to publish my book, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. I want you to do it all. And so I did.
Yeah.
And so we did the cover, and I came up with the title and wrote the Kindle description and the back cover copy, and we published it for him. And he's great. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. He's been an evangelist for me, and he's darling.
He's a sweetheart.
I had him on my podcast. telling his story, because I mean, talk about innovative ways to marketing. I mean, he was driving an Uber truck, an Uber car, and selling them out of his car. But really, it wasn't about the book. It was about getting them to his tax workshop that is in the book, you know, that he invites them to. And so what he decided to do was to drive the car in high income areas so that he'd meet people who had money. And that's what he did. And it was working for him. I mean, I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah.
Very
innovative.
But I love that. I mean, I love having people on my podcast with stories like that. If anybody's got a story like, you know, I mean, an innovative out of the box story, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. There's so many ways of running a business or doing your business, and you have to find the way that works for you.
Absolutely.
And that's what part of the strategy in developing a business or in developing a book or in developing anything is all about, is you've got to find that way. And you were talking about how you've been doing this podcasting now for a really long time, and yet you're still working on it because you're finding the way that works for you, and it's going to serve your life as best as it possibly can. And, you know, feed your soul at the same time. That's what business is all about. It's not just selling a product or service.
Right. Well, the other thing is about like what tactics and strategies that you do. Like sometimes something works for a while and then it doesn't work, or sometimes it works, but it doesn't work for you. You know, so you kind of have, but I liked what Barb was saying about not liking standing up there talking. I found out that's not my favorite thing either. I enjoy this kind of, you know, banter, interaction. I'm loving Clubhouse for that reason, because it's not all, you know, just you talking, you know, and people asking questions and other people giving value and being very cooperative. You know, I mean, I love that. You know, that really works for me.
Because we're all, you know, like we always hear the saying that we're all in this together.
Right.
The thing is, though, we are.
Yeah.
And all it takes is for everybody to give their one little tip.
Yeah.
Like one day I was talking to a gal, and she was just having such a hard time with a friend of hers. And I was just saying, I just said, well, you know, what's happening? You know, what's happening? You know, because I'm a personality gal. And she was just telling me about that she was having trouble with this girl. And I said, well, okay, let's talk about your personality. You are a planner. She says, yeah. I said, your girlfriend isn't. So one of these days, just call her up. You plan to call her up spontaneously and invite her out to do something. And she went, oh, I could do that. So she planned a day where she was going to be spontaneous, call up her friend and say, let's go do this. What do you think?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. I can do this. The minute your brain goes, I can do this.
I can do that.
Boom.
Boom. That's right.
And it opened up a whole, and she has said to me so often that she plans a day to be spontaneous with her friend.
Yeah.
And if it happens, great. And or she has a backup plan if the spontaneous plan doesn't happen. And she was like, oh, right.
And I know, it's so funny. And that's the other thing. Sometimes something's right in front of your face, but you're too close to it. You just can't see it.
Exactly right.
And you need somebody else to tell you.
Yeah. Pat talks about the blind spots we all have so often.
All the time.
The blind spots.
Yeah. Well, that's why. I mean, that's another thing that makes me a great coach, is I just see stuff. I mean, this woman came to me. She had actually gone to somebody who had gone through my course and was helping her with her book. And she comes to me and she says, what do you think of my book? And I look at the cover and I go, well, you've got a problem right here on the cover. I haven't even looked inside the book. And she goes, what's the problem? And I go, you're asking a question. There's no question mark. I mean, sometimes it's that simple, you know? And so she goes, oh, and she starts yelling at me. I paid this person $1,000 and, you know, and I go, well, you didn't get an expert. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a cautionary tale for people too. It's like, you shouldn't be teaching things that are not in your wheelhouse either. Just because you've done it once.
That's exactly
you know, there's just too many. Like when I started, it was a little different because nobody was doing it. So people came to me.
Pioneers. There are pioneers.
Right. There are pioneers in certain things. And so when people came to me, I was, you know, my mentor said, well, you're a couple steps ahead of them. So just do it. You know, stop thinking about it, you know, learning it all, you know, plenty, just do it. So I did. But when it gets to the point where it is now, where there are people who have been doing it something, whether it's, the book coaching or your business coaching or whatever for years and years and years, and you decide to go somebody who's been doing it for 6 months, that's on you.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Cause there's no reason to do that. And you're not going to get really the, what you need. And also, what you pay for, when people are charging more money, there's a reason. I had a guy come to me one time in my boot camp, and he got mad because he figured out that you could get a book cover on Fiverr for $5, and he had paid for my entire, boot camp and publishing his book and everything. And I said, well, you're not paying me to make a book cover, although we are making the book cover. You're paying me for my expertise that it's going to be right. Yes. And it's going to get you sales. That's what you're paying me for.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because the whole reason why you would want to write a book, why you want to do a podcast, is because you want to have the profitability that's going to come out of it. It's return on investment, right?
Right.
So getting somebody who can pretty much guarantee you return on investment, that's the whole reason why you'd hire an expert. I remember when Barb and I were doing SEO for a while, and I continue to do SEO, but what I found was that there were people out there who were charging, we were charging a couple $1,000s to do their SEO because of the in-depth stuff that we did. There were people out there who were charging like $200, and it was like comparing apples to oranges, but people didn't realize that there was a difference. And that comes back to the marketing. So how do you get people to realize that you are the expert, which you are totally the expert, but you're the total expert and that you're worth the money?
Well, of course, one thing is your testimonials. Right. I have the most amazing testimonials from people. Sometimes it blows me away. Somebody went through my boot camp and said, this information was worth $1 million to me. I was like, whoa.
It can change your life.
Yeah. Right. Another woman said, I've made 10 times. I thought I was just going to write a book, but I've made 10 times the investment. So, things like that. So that's one thing. But I will say, when I first started, and this is a tip for people who are starting out, is I didn't have testimonials starting out, right? I hadn't done it yet. Right. But what I did was I volunteered to work with, I had been in a compilation book first as well, Barbara. And what I did was I worked with Stephen E. on that book. And so he was doing a live conference, and I don't remember how it came about, but we got the opportunity to go and help him at his booth. And by helping him at his booth, we met Allie Brown, we met Mike Stewart, we met all these different people there. And then they got to know me, and then they gave me personal testimonials. So they weren't about my business yet, because I didn't have one. Right. It was more about, Ellen's a really great person. She's really smart, that kind of stuff. But it got me started. Those were the first ones that I got. And then the second one is then doing what Jeff Walker calls, a seed launch. It's like, do it, don't think about the money so much as getting the feedback. Right. And then improve based on what people are telling you. And so that's what I did. And the truth is, I've given that boot camp now 31 times. That blows me away. But because Jeff's only done his 16, or 15. Wow. Yeah. But I've done it 31 times. And I would say that it was like the first 10 times before I had gotten pretty much all the feedback that I've ever gotten, that it needed something else. Whether it was just a little bonus like author's permission slip, how do I get permission if I want to quote somebody, or, just little things like that. Yeah. But I just kept improving it, every time somebody, and to this day, if somebody said to me, oh, I want such and such, I would still improve it.
Right.
Yeah. That hasn't happened in a long time, but that's what you do, is you just, you get the feedback. So those are really the most important things. It's getting the people the results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Recently, last year especially, I was contacted by a lot of coaches. It was really interesting, who had never written a book, and they wanted to do a pre-recorded webinar to sell their program, but they had never sold their program. Right? So the reality is that unless you do something to put yourself out there to prove your concept, and that's exactly what a book does, it proves your concept. But as you were saying earlier, don't even write the book until you've already proven your concept.
I'm saying do the seed launch first.
Yes, exactly.
Well, no, I would say, what's actually the best thing is a combination. For instance, if somebody were to go to my boot camp and say, I don't have a I don't have a program yet. Right. And I said, okay, well, what would your program be about? And we came up with the topic, and then we came up with the title for the book and an outline. Guess what? You can use that same outline for your program.
Right.
Okay. So now that you've got that, go do the seed launch, get the results, and then come back and finish the book. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what I did actually, when I did my first boot camp, when I started, I was very lucky. I hired a coach to teach me how to coach. And as it turned out, he had a little ebook on how to do ebooks that I hadn't found when I was first looking. But having gone through my own journey, I said to him, I can make this better. How would you like to do a co-authoring with me on this book, and I'll make it better? And he said, no, that's okay. You can just take it and do what you want. So I did that. I took it and I improved it. And then I used that as my first lead generator that went into my first writing boot camp. But then after that, I said to people, well, what else do you want? And they said, well, we want a marketing course. Right. So that one, I did the course first, got the feedback, and then I did the book based on the course. But whether I do a course first or I do a book first, it's the same process. I always know what it is, and then I have my outline, and the outline is the same. What's different is that you're going to go deeper into the information in the course than you're going to go in the book. Absolutely. And this is one of the things that trips people up, is like, oh, I don't know how much to put in the book. So, you know, that's a decision that each person has to make, but the more value you give, the more people are going to be impressed. And the second thing is, you're always going to have people who are going to do it themselves no matter what. Yes. And you're always going to have people who want help no matter what. I almost always want help. There have been very few things that I've been able to do on my own, and I'm a pretty smart cookie. So, you know, I'm a huge fan of coaching. And I will say, you know, even when I was at that low point where we were really struggling, when I knew I needed a coach, I somehow got that, you know, that first $125 together to hire him for one session, you know, to start turning things around. Right. So if you can't get $100, 125, 150, whatever that is, you don't want it bad enough. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it's true, because when I wanted it, I found a way to do it, and I did not have the money.
Absolutely.
You know?
And coaching just speeds things up.
Yeah. And it's been the same thing. And even, you know, as much as I know, and as long as I've been doing this, it was like when COVID hit, and I actually had started before COVID hit. I started in January of last year, but I had reached a point in my business where I was like, okay, I don't want to repeat what happened before. I've got to do this a little different way. I've got to get more information. I've got to get better skills, because the fact that in 2018, I couldn't fill my boot camp at all, where, you know, in the earlier years, I mean, people were throwing money at me. So it was, you know, everything had changed, you know, and I had changed. And so I knew I needed more skill. And so I invested in 2, you know, relatively big programs for me. I mean, you know, a couple $1,000 here, you know, a little more than $1,000 there. I went to a lot of virtual events last year. I mean, I didn't really focus on getting clients as much, because I get referrals, and, you know, I mean, that I get enough to kind of just get by if I want to do that. But I really was focused on upgrading my skills. That was what I wanted to do last year, and I did it. And then my plan was, okay, now this year I'm going to implement it. And that's what I did. We did a challenge in January. We did the boot camp, and we'll do it again, you know, coming up later in the year. But people can actually get on that wait list now if they want to, for the free challenge. That's it. Can I say where that is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. bestsellerbreakthrough.com/waitlist. So that'll be coming up. Yeah. Boy, summer will be here before you know it. So it won't be that long. Yeah. It won't be that long, but anyway, but that was the point, was like, sometimes you're in taking action mode. Sometimes you're in up-leveling your skills mode, you know, and you do that at every level. And for a long time, I didn't really understand that. It's like, well, I've spent all this money, I should just be able to do this. And then it's like, well, and I'm helping my clients, so I should be able to coach myself. No, no, that did not work.
Too many blind spots.
Too many blind spots. Yeah. But it was some hard lessons for me along the way. It's been humbling being an entrepreneur. Yeah. It has definitely been humbling. I was always a type A, and I always did well. I mean, the fact that I got a Grammy nomination, I mean, it still blows me away. It's like that. It came out of nowhere. It's just unbelievable to me. But the point is that I've always been an overachiever. I've always won awards. I've always gotten A's, that kind of person. So to suddenly be in the position where, the recession in 2008, we lost our house to foreclosure, and then all the medical stuff and just everything we went through, it was humbling. It was humbling. Mm-hmm. But at some point you've got to say, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to crawl into bed and put the covers over my head, or am I going to figure this out? And luckily, one of the things I love about social media is, oh my God, I have such an amazing group of friends now that I never had before. I have great friends, cheerleaders, people who just love what I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, last week we finally paid off the last installment of the last bill from all that medical stuff.
Wow.
It took
congratulations.
6-7 more years for us to get through it all. And I was so excited that I posted it. And I really wasn't thinking about, I didn't even go into the whole story. I didn't even talk about the homelessness or any of that other stuff. I was just talking about, yay, I paid the bill. And people just went bananas, like congratulating me, thanking me. I mean, I think there were over 550 comments and likes and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, great.
But what it did was it resonated with people. It made people feel like, if you could do this, I could do this, right? It took 6 years to get through it, but you did it. You did it. And so that was an inspiration to people. And so sometimes you think like, oh, I shouldn't share this because, like, for me, I'm a pretty private person. Actually, this is a whole new ball game to be telling people all my dirty laundry here. But I found out that it helps people.
Exactly.
And so, right. And so if it helps people, then I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. And also I had somebody on my podcast, and he was saying how this really successful coach had come on his podcast and was talking about how she did something and it completely flopped, and how she got more clients out of that than any of the other things she'd been doing. And he said, because people, like somebody who's honest and real. And I was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. So then I told this story last week, and one of my old clients came back, and I'm like, it's just telling your story.
Yeah, things happen.
Telling your story. But I grew up in a family where it was like, where it looks perfect from the outside. Yeah. And I had issues growing up, and I had a doctor, and he said, I really think you should go see a psychiatrist. In those days, they did psychiatry as opposed to a psychologist or anybody else, because there was a lot of turmoil in my house, and it was giving me physical symptoms. And my parents were like, oh no, we don't do that kind of thing, And the doctor was like, look, if I told you to take medicine, would you take it? It's like, yeah. He goes, well, I'm telling you, go do this. So it didn't really work out. It really wasn't the right person for me to talk to, and it really wasn't the right time. And I eventually got a really great therapist when I was in graduate school. And that was where I first found out that I was going to be a songwriter, because I was sharing my poetry with her, and she said, have you ever thought of being a songwriter? And I said, hell no. I mean, I came from a professional family, and she was like, well, these are amazing, and maybe you should try that. And so I did, and changed my life. Changed my life. I just hadn't been living my own life. I was trying to live it for everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow your passion, your skills, and what your market really wants.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, Ellen, thank you so much for being on here today. This was just great.
Yeah.
You want to tell people again where to go for your challenge?
Yeah, they can go to bestsellerbreakthrough.com/waitlist. And the website is Books Open Doors. And then the last thing I'll share with you guys, you said the podcast. So the podcast is booksbusinessabundance.com/podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super.
Perfect.
Awesome. And we will put the bestsellerbreakthrough.com/waitlist in the show notes. So
yeah, it'll be coming up in the summer. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead and get online and get your book written. That's really important. Get your book written.
Yeah. And if they go, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. I was going to just say it'll give you credibility. It'll help to increase your visibility out there, which is so important. It gives you another platform to be able to talk to people about your business, which is another big deal. And, having your book done, it just feels good.
Yeah, and when they go to the podcast page, there's also a book planner secrets guide to help you get started. So you can pick that up right now. And right now, we're also in the process of putting together a bestseller starter kit, and it's going to have a whole bunch of my starting checklist, for titles and to write your book and to do your Kindle planning and all that. So we were literally working on it yesterday. So hopefully that'll be up by next week. And I'll mention it on the podcast, so people will be able to get that too. But it'll be on the website booksopendoors.com.
Fantastic.
So all kinds of free resources for people. And really, if you start going through the podcast, like you were saying, Barbara, there's just amazing tips from people.
Yeah, yeah. You have great gifts,
including Pat. Pat was just on.
I was just on.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Yeah. Enjoy the day and go out there and make a difference out there in the world.
And get your son. Get your son, right, Barbara? Get your son.
Get some sun out there. Yeah. Vitamin D. Vitamin D. Your body doesn't make it by itself. You need to go.
No, it does not.
Go out in the sun. So,
awesome.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.